I'll be working with trailer loading with Castor again today, so I'm going to ask him to get in there a little bit further, and then we're going to work on the stay in a new location. So first of all, I just want him to come up to the trailer. I want him to see it, hang out. I want him to be comfortable with it, but I also want him to see it and not just like run inside immediately. It's because he wanted to do that, which is fine to an extent. Like, I'm okay with him being enthusiastic, but I really do want him to have a nice cue. So I probably shouldn't have necessarily worked on the stay right outside the trailer because that is like a thing for him that it's kind of becoming a cue. Like as soon as that door is open, he's like, I'd like to get in there. So really, I probably should have worked on it in another location first. But oh well, now I know how to do that. But I'm just giving him the cue is gonna be putting my hand on his forehead, and then I can tell him stay if I want to keep a voice cue on it or not. Doesn't matter. And then I'm just gonna take like a step away, and then as I do, and he stays there, I'm gonna click and then reward and go ahead and feed him. So that's what we're doing. I want to decrease how much I ask for in this lesson since he's moved to a new place. So I'm just taking like one or two steps away. I'm not adding on the steps because he's in a different location. So I don't want to add up too many things at once and then he's not going to be successful because there's just too much that he has to deal with. So, and that's the other thing why I shouldn't have asked him to get in the trailer or asked him to do this by the trailer because it's just another thing. Like I'm adding too many steps to this lesson. So, but he's doing really, really well actually. And having those treats like be kind of time consuming can be good, it can be bad. So for him, he's taking his time and chewing and like hanging out there. So you got to know your horse in this scenario, in every scenario, but especially that one. So if your horse is content with like standing somewhere and just chewing on their food, then this will work. If you have one that like as soon as they get it in their mouth, they're like, I need more, and then they want to come to you, when you're doing the stay, you might want to give them little tiny pieces or like chaff hay, like chopped up hay, or a few pellets, and then continue clicking and rewarding really frequently so that they don't get worried. And even though they have like food in their mouth, they can still continue getting food, especially in that state, if they haven't been conditioned to it where they want to follow you all the time. So it just keeps continually rewarding them for that. So now I'm asking him to go ahead and get in the trailer. I've brought the target back because that seemed to work really well. My target's just that crop. And he doesn't know it's a crop. It's never been used as one for him. So I'm just gonna ask him to go in. I want him to stand or go toward it, stand, and then in, and then backing out. So just kind of being more maneuverable around the trailer. He's really not that worried about it anymore, and I want him just standing where when I want him. Like he does. I don't want him to go in and then get a cookie and rush out. I want him to go in and stay for variable amounts of time. I want him to back out when I ask and then stay there and then come in when I ask and different things like that. So I'm just kind of adding on to it. I'm not super focused on getting him further in. I can do a little bit of that, of like just asking him to be a little bit further in, but I'm not asking for hind legs or anything like that. I want this part to be maneuverable. Lots of people get stuck because they see the first feeder in, the front feeder in, they're like, oh, well, I'm halfway there. And they just are focused on those hind feet. I need him maneuverable with those front feet really well before I get to the back feet, especially with this trailer. There's quite a drop down. I want him to be completely comfortable stepping up, stepping down, backing off that trailer with those front feet, knowing where he is in relation to that trailer so that he can back off. Or if I want to teach him to turn around and get off, he can do that before I ever do any hind feet stuff. So that's super, super important. So I also like to back him like variable distances. So lots of the time I'll just back him till he's off the trailer. Like there, I'll back him even further away. Sometimes I'll back him up more and then we'll go for a walk and just take like a little mental break, or he can go work on something else and come back later. But especially with a trailer, we get real focused on like just getting him in and just accomplishing this task. And it's like we need to take a break, come back, and they'll actually go faster that way. So but I might fast forward through a little bit of this because I'm just kind of playing with the trailer and just kind of seeing how he's feeling about it and kind of pairing good things with it. So like right here, I just want him to stand at the door and like hang out and eat treats. So he doesn't feel like he's always obligated to get in right away. He can just hang out at the door and chill, and then maybe we'll get a step in or two and then we'll back out, and then maybe we'll get back in and then stand for a little bit and then we'll get back out. So I want him to not feel trapped around the trailer. That's basically the goal of this whole exercise here is like he doesn't have to go in, he's not gonna get shut in. It's just gonna be I'm gonna hang out and come in and out and it'll be okay. Because the only experience he has with the trailer that's not any of these training videos we've seen is when we got him and before then, like when he was hauled to me. So he's just been chased into a trailer. So I do have to do some retraining of that because those are not great experiences for him. But so I'm letting him just hang out in here and eat a few treats and depending on your horse, you can feed them by hand or you can put them on the floor. I like to kind of mix it up a little bit. You can really tell. I mean, you can tell with their head up too, but if you have a hard time reading body language, if you put the treats on the floor and they have a hard time like wanting to put their head down, they're hesitant, or they'll grab the treat and pick their head up. That means they're feeling a little trapped and a little worried about being in the trailer. And you can notice that as well when you're hand feeding with their head up too. If they snatch the treats from you, or if they grab them and then they're like looking around, or they grab it and then they leave. So those are all some signs that they're not feeling super comfortable with the trailer. So I want to make sure that he's being rewarded just as much or more for standing at the gate of the trailer because he was getting to where he'd get in too much. Like I was rewarding him too much for being in, and I needed to balance that out by rewarding him a lot by just standing there. So like there he went on his own. I didn't want him to, so just bring him back out, let him stand there, um, and reward him for just standing there. He needs to be balanced and not just getting in on his own, which could be something you might want. For him, I don't want that because if I'm loading up everybody else, like I don't want him just jumping in as soon as he sees a trailer. I want him for waiting for my cues. And right now, like he's at the back. Like I have the back door open and then the back divider is shut. So he only fits in that back slot. So if I need to put him in the front slot and he wants to run in there, like I don't want to be in the way or another horse is in there. I need him to wait for my cues and wait for me to ask him to go in there. So there he keeps trying to put himself in there, which is good. Like I like that he's feeling confident about it and he wants to go in there, but I need to balance that out. So again, I'm asking him back up. Then when he's standing there, then I'll give him a treat. So I should be feeding him more. So I should have fed him right before that he stepped up here. And then the other time where I was like, I should feed him there while he was standing, again, he should have been fed there. So not doing the best job at balancing this out, but at least you can see that this is a good problem to have, really. Most people have the opposite problem of he won't go in at all, or he's very consistent in going in and out, but he's definitely consistent in going in. So I'm just kind of working on him just standing outside the trailer. And that's a very important thing. So just like with those hoof lifts, and I'm like, to pick up those hind feet, you really want to make sure that they balance their hoof on their toe before you pick them up. This is going to be one of those things with trailer loading. You want to make sure that they stand at that door and wait for you before you do a lot of rewarding in the trailer because you could get a horse that's always in, going, going, going in. And sometimes you can get it like that even if the horse is still kind of worried about it, like they're conflicted, they want the food and they'll go in and then they'll get scared and like run out. And you don't want that either. So that's just another part of balancing the behaviors. So but I should do more of him standing at the gate and getting a lot of reinforcement there. Then I should ask him he should come in, and then I could give him like one reinforcement, and then ask him to come out and stand, and then he could get a lot more. So I'm just making standing at the door and the gate of the trailer a lot more reinforcing than going inside. So, and it is kind of dark in this camera in the camera because it's cloudy out and it's dark in the trailer, but luckily Castor's really light colors, so you can kind of see this pretty well. I was listening to my cues pretty well to get back out. You can tell he doesn't really want to. He wants to go in. So again, he needs more reinforcement on the outside. So I should be clicking and feeding here and putting reinforcement on the floor for him here so that he's um, feeling a lot more reinforced. Like I should have done a lot more of that because right now he's like, oh, well, that's great, but I'm going to go in. So I have a little bit too much of that. That's okay. It's not a huge, big problem to have. I mean, you might not consider it a problem if you want your horse to run into the trailer as soon as the door opens. Like, there you go. But for me, I don't. So I'm just gonna, I'm probably fast forward through a little bit of this so it doesn't get too long. Again, I should put more reinforcement on the floor for him or just stay out of the trailer like with myself and just stand by there and reward him a lot by standing there. Could also put a target right there at the door, like on the floor, like I'm going to use a cone later on and have him target it and stay there so he has something to focus on, or keep my target right where his nose is there. The other problem that I'm having is the target I'm using is really short. So even if I'm standing in the trailer and I'm just at a safe distance from him, he's going to want to go touch it because it's really short to me. So if I'm using a longer one, I can put it right in front of his face and reward him for standing outside of the trailer. So that time I think I did ask him to come into the trailer. So he did get a lot farther. As you can see, his hind legs are right up against there. Um, so I'm going to reward him for that. But I want to be careful again because he needs more reinforcements for staying out there than going in. So I wanted to show this clip because I thought it was pretty interesting. I had left, I was gonna go get some more treats, and he decides he wants to go in the trailer by himself. So I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, this is why I train with positive reinforcement. He gets all the way in. I'm not in the trailer. I left. I'm not in there at all. He does this all on his own, which is good. Like he's feeling good about it, but I probably should have closed the door because he does get scared here in a minute. But I like that he's like taking that initiative and on his own is very impressive. I really like that a lot because I hadn't asked him at all to bring those back feet in. So, um, but yeah, it was important. I should have shut the door because then I don't want him to be scared because he doesn't understand. Like, I'm not there to help him through this. So I'm not there to show him the target and back him up. So he just ends up like not knowing what to do and kind of scaring himself a little bit. But I mean, he gets back on like the trailer. It's not a huge deal for him. So that's why I can kind of get a little like lax with those things. But like if Atlas did that, I'd be a lot more worried because it takes him longer. He's more cautious, like to build back up that confidence. When well, on the other hand, like Castor's very confident. See there, he's like, oh my goodness, something scared me, and I don't know what it was. It could have been me walking, um, but I do like how he comes and circles back too. So you don't want that to happen with a horse that's not super confident. Like Castor's pretty confident and he gets right back in the trailer. But I thought that clip was interesting for those few different reasons. So now I've come back because of seeing that he scared himself in the trailer. I didn't know he went all the way in, but I saw him like and heard him run away. So I gotta come back and make sure he's okay with it. Like it's okay. Like trailer's not terrifying. Come back and give him some treats by the door. So make sure definitely if your horse is kind of on the more worried side, you might not think like, oh, they're gonna not go in there on their own because they're not super confident, but they might, and you might end up making it worse. So we just gotta be cautious of that.